Hi everyone, it's Bob here at Branded Visuals in beautiful Bragg Creek, and today's over-the-counter conversation is going to be about how to clean the sensor on your DSLR camera. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you've just been at photography for a short period of time or whether you're a seasoned professional. At some point in time, you will get frustrated with the amount of dust that collects on the sensor of your camera. Now, some cameras seem to be remarkably adept at removing it automatically when you turn your camera on and off, and still other cameras seem to be real dust magnets. So I'm going to start with showing you some of the tools, and then I'm going to show you some quick techniques that you might consider using. All of the tools I've purchased from VisibleDust, which is a Canadian company located in Canmore, Alberta. And so I'm going to begin by using what I call the air blower to start. I'll move on to what's called the Arctic Butterfly, which uses static charged brush to clean the sensor. And then I'm going to do a more intrusive clean using wet swabs. And I'll show you how to use that just in a moment. In order to see the dust, to make it visible, so to speak, I'm going to be using a sensor LOUPE, which has LED lights. And it's going to allow me to visually see where the dust is located on the sensor. First step, remove the lens. Make sure that the lens is below the camera so that dust doesn't fall into the camera cavity. And then when you're removing the lens, be sure the power is off so that you're not creating static within the camera itself to draw dust in. Cap the lens quickly, that quickly, to make sure dust doesn't enter the lens cavity, which could easily then be transferred back to the camera when you put the lens back on. And then cap the camera if you're not going to be doing the cleaning right away. In order to clean the sensor of your camera, you need to first select a manual clean function in your menu. And so in this particular camera's menu, the camera sensor cleaning is in the yellow file. And I'm going to select the sensor cleaning and then select manual sensor cleaning. It always gives me an opportunity to stop this action, like a fail-safe. Are you really sure you want to do this on your own? If not, you can still back up at this point. And if you're in that situation right now, feel free to bring your camera by Branded Visuals, and we can do the sensor cleaning for you for a nominal fee. So I'm going to select OK. And then I'm going to show you what happens when the mirror goes up. Do you see that? So the mirror has gone up, exposing the sensor. And I'm going to do my sensor clean in this way, just so that you can see what I'm doing. Normally I would do my sensor clean more at an angle like this. Again, because when you're holding your camera straight up, you're just inviting dust to fall into the sensor. Dust, or as in this case, spittle from my speaking. So the first step would be to use the air blower or air bulb and just do a light blow into the sensor. That dust, of course, isn't being controlled in any way. It's possibly coming out. It could also just be moving off the sensor and finding another nice resting place within the camera itself. I'm going to use the loop throughout this just to make sure that I'm making some progress. And probably 9 times out of 10, just simply blowing the sensor is enough to dislodge any stubborn dust. About 50% of the time you might want to use static to do any cleaning. So charge the brush, turn the light on, and then you're just going to give it a pass, possibly 2, and then discharge the dust. That is, you don't want to have that same dust go back in the sensor when you do it a second time from the opposite direction. And then discharge it again. The third step would be used quite sparingly, and that is to use a wet swab. Now you want to be sure you do the first 2 steps before you do a wet swab, because you want to make sure that you remove any loose particles, especially things that might have an abrasive quality, like sand, for example. Take the swab out of the packet that has been keeping it uncontaminated up until this point. Try not to touch it, which would apply possible grease from your fingers. And then you're going to apply a solution to the swab I'm going to choose the Sensor Clean solution, but VisibleDust also sells what's called V-Dust and Smear Away for more stubborn stains and grease and so forth. I'm going to apply 3 drops on each side of my swab. That's the first side, and then the second side. And then I'm just going to give that about 10 seconds to fully migrate through the fibers of the swab itself. And I don't want to apply the liquid per se to the sensor. I want to apply a damp swab to the sensor. So I'm giving it just a moment to fully saturate the material on this swab itself. So I've waited long enough, and now I'm just going to go into the belly of my sensor and give it just a quick swab from one direction first. And then I'm going to flip my camera around 180 degrees and also rotate my swab 180 degrees. And then give it a second swab, making sure that I'm right into the corners. Notice the pressure that I'm putting on. And lift it out. This will get discarded. I'm going to take a quick look with my, my loupe. And beautiful. That is one clean sensor. I'm going to cap it, because I'm not putting a lens on it right away. And that's it, folks.